Well, I'm running a campaign where there's zero competitors, okay? And I'm still paying like $5 to $10 a click.
Hi Joey, how are you doing?
Great, thanks. How are you doing?
Very good, man. It's a pleasure to have you here. You
Awesome.
really are one of these old-time affiliates, right? It's 20 years in the industry. It's not small. More than 20 years, so that's not small.
Yeah, I started back in 2002, which is a long time ago now.
Wow. So you're gonna have a
Yep,
lot to share. All right. Please introduce yourself to our audience. We are super excited to have you. So please go ahead.
sure. Yeah, my name's Joey Babineau. I've been doing affiliate marketing since 2002. Started back in the, black hat kind of gray hat area back in the day because I didn't really know what I was doing and everybody was talking about ways to make money. Over the years, I started cleaning my act up a little bit, but then, we've had a lot of changes over the course of the last 20 years. So I'm now doing media buying specifically for myself as well as some clients, affiliate style, the typical affiliate campaigns. And that's what I do now full time. And I actually switched to full time in 2015 after leaving a corporate government job where I basically learned how to do affiliate marketing in my spare time for 15 years and then eventually left. And now I do it full time.
Wow, that's a
Yeah.
long time between the corporate and the affiliates. 15 years. You said 15. Well, that's indeed a lot.
Yeah,
Very nice.
absolutely. And a lot has changed, of course, as we're probably going to talk about today.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you do have two companies or two businesses, Bold Media and Powerhouse Affiliate. I'm
Yeah.
curious
So
how they interact. Yes, go ahead.
Vault Media, as in Bank Vault. Vault Media was a company I created in 2007. It was a corporation, and basically it is my agency. We'll say it's a ad agency. We do lead generation. We do affiliate marketing for other companies. We actually even sell direct leads to buyers, and we created a conglomerate, we'll say, of a few websites and brands that fall under Vault Media that we use for. I say we, but it's me as the one guy running the show, and then I have people that I hire to do ad creation sometimes. But over the years, there's never really been a full time staff that works for me. It's always been partners or people that you hire as freelancers. So basically, yeah, that's the overarching company, Vault Media. And then within that, one of the brands is Powerhouse Affiliate. That's where we take what I've done over the years and kind of for the last 10 years, it has been a training platform for people looking to get into affiliate marketing, specifically on affiliate marketing, mainly media buying. We focus mainly on media buying. We don't do a lot on SEO. And that's because that's my experience level mainly has always been buying traffic.
All right,
So that's
very
just one of the brands. Yeah.
very interesting, very interesting. Yes, that's good. I saw you in both, so I wanted to ask. And now, what tell us a little bit what type of campaigns you mentioned lead gen, you mentioned affiliates, you mentioned a couple of things there when you were talking about Bold Media. What type of campaigns are you running right now? What is going to be your biggest industry right now to share?
Yeah, so the campaigns have changed over the decades. Like I said, I started in casino, ran a lot of casino through Facebook, was doing, really good numbers, 6, 7 figures, profit in a year. That was really awesome stuff back when there was no AI to kind of block all your ads instantly and you could easily create Facebook accounts. Okay, so that was where we started, we'll say. That kind of stuff. It was completely legit to run it legally, but you were breaking the rules of ad platforms. So that model kind of collapsed. And then we got into diet trials. Everybody remembers that era where you're making, 100 to 200, 300% ROI sometimes on a Facebook ad campaign as an affiliate running. Again, you're running against the terms, but you're still making enough money to pay somebody to build you accounts and all that kind of stuff. Now, I don't. I know it's risky to talk about that publicly, so I'm not going to get into too much detail because that's over now. Those are years, 10 years
Yeah,
ago,
yeah.
whatever, 15 years ago. Today, the landscape has changed. Like, you'll burn yourself out if you go down that path. Especially if you're working as a sole operator like myself, it's really hard to manage constant ad creation and constant ad account creation without a small team. And then at the same time you're still going to burn yourself out. So I've moved into more compliant campaigns. Mind you, the profit margin has collapsed from say 100% to 200% down to like 20, 30, 40% ROI. And sometimes you'll have some days where you're not making any ROI. It's just the nature of the beast. So I had to shift my business model. So when you ask specifically in finance, for example, one brand that I started working on and building is chartequity.com. Okay. It's built for investors who are new to the game of investing. And it has tools in there that, we're using AI to build these tools. And not only are we an affiliate, but we're also the product owner itself. So that's one brand that Vault Media owns, chartequity.com. That's an example. So then you get into finance affiliate offers like Gold R, Silver, these high ticket investment firms and stuff like that, where you're getting clients in the door for free, but then you're selling them these things in the back end as an affiliate. Also, what's working and has been working for a long time is personal information and security. Think of things like background checks, online background checks. There's an example. Or protecting yourself from scams online. So these are niches that aren't your typical diet. They're not your typical auto lead gen. They're kind of different frames, I guess a different framework than your typical campaigns. And that's where there's still opportunity for affiliates, is not going after the major niche. I mean, there's still opportunity in the major niches, but my advice is for anybody looking for the arbitrage style campaign that might still exist. It's not going to be in your highly competitive, high click cost niches anymore. It's going to be in the obscure angles, if you will.
Nice. Interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting how the transition from those very aggressive industries in all senses towards finance, right? Towards a very high ticket user or client with a high LTV. And especially now, also something that I like to, we'll discuss a bit later, but you mentioned that you went from affiliate, but now you also have your own brands, which also you do your own media buying, but probably you also use affiliates for your own brand. So you basically have the whole ecosystem. And that is something that we keep seeing more and more, where people in your position with so much experience and so many years, they all go towards building what I call equity, right? What I call something that it's not finishing after the click or after the conversion ends. So that's really nice. I have one question, and this is something that I was also involved in the Nutra trials back in the days. Super dynamic, super aggressive, of course, very volatile. And you've been much longer than me in this space. So how many times you had to rebuild your business? How many times you had to go, you mentioned casino, stopped. Then you mentioned Nutra, stopped. How many times, how many cycles have you lived these years?
Man, it almost seems like every 2 to 3 years you're doing a reshuffle. You're like every year as almost like a New Year's resolution for me. I look at all the things that I'm currently working on, and I sometimes it's really easy to have too many things on the go, especially in this industry, because there's so many opportunities and there's so many affiliate managers out there pumping offers to you. There's different traffic sources, and so it's really hard to stay focused. And so add into that, platform changes, then we have different rules. We have privacy issues like the iOS stuff that happened. Everybody had to pivot when Apple switched their iOS, and then we had to pivot with the processors for trial offers. Everybody got hit by FTC. Everybody had to pivot to sales. Then we had to, I could name off 50 different things we've had to pivot for in the last decade alone.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And now we have AI. There's another pivot. And AI, to me, is introducing something like we always say, the Wild West, right? The Wild West was the diet trials. The Wild West was the casino offers on Facebook. Now the Wild West, I think, is AI. Because there's so many things we can do right now. But I think a lot of people are focused on building tools for people that we always used as affiliates. That's the wrong way to go. Like building a tracker right now isn't the way to go. It's building something that somebody that doesn't use AI would use. So that's why I built Chart Equity's stock analyzer tool. There's not very many stock pickers, we'll say, or new investors that want to use AI to build a tool to analyze stocks, right? So that's the thinking I'm doing. So that's my pivot right now, is pivoting into owning something at the end of the day while still using affiliate to monetize, because affiliate is huge for us because it's less work. It's always been less work. But you can't just do affiliate, in my opinion. You can, but you're just going to always be pivoting even more.
Yeah, you're always chasing, right?
Yeah.
This is one of another one of our guests was explaining. It's like built in time, right? Being the long run, being the highway, not just that click that basically vanishes after that click has been done, right? So it's very interesting. So you're basically what you're saying is that you're using AI, you're jumping into the AI trend today to build products. Let's say, yeah, we call it. I mean, chart. The one that you just mentioned is basically a product using AI for it, right? So
Yeah. So, yeah, go ahead.
and then basically you're trying to build AI products for people that are not using AI yet. Um,
In a sense, yeah. So I was very careful in doing this because, again, we could sit here and build 50 different products in 2 days using Claude Code. So
mhm.
that's not the intent here, and that's not what I'm telling people to do. What I guess my point is you need to pick a brand, like you said, a highway, and you're going to build that highway, and it's always going to be running the same types of offers. Like, say, if you're in diet, stick to diet, and then you're just going to be branching out and pivoting in that lane. We'll say, stay in your lane kind of deal. Now, I've always been interested in finance and investing, so I thought it would only make sense to go in that lane. I'm not here to build 50 different tools in 50 different niches. I'm saying pick one and maybe it's in the niche you're already in. So, for example, I'll give you another example. For Powerhouse Affiliate, we built some tools. It only made sense, but we're not going out and trying to sell and compete against other tools. Like we would never try and build, like for example, AdPlexity. You guys have moat, you have data, you have a system that is really hard to replicate. Okay. So it doesn't make sense for anybody to try and compete there, but you can easily build a keyword tracker or a keyword tool that pulls keyword data from different sources. And you can offer that to your already existing clients, we'll say. So a lot of agencies are doing that. They're building these little tools. The mistake is thinking you can build a tool and start selling at mass scale just because you built it, because everybody can build these tools. Unless you go to a niche that people aren't interested in building their own tools, like health, like people that need health or whatever issues, they might have a health app. They're not looking to build an app. They just want the convenience of using an app. So you might be able to compete there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that we see as well from our side, right? I mean, we see an extreme amount of spy tools popping up every day, right? And a lot of people also, they are building their own spy tools, right? Because if you know your niche very well and then you have two or three competitors, you don't need a spy tool. You can build it with cloud code, as you say, and only monitor those two, three people, right? But having such a complexity, like in our case, it's our entry barrier. We cover things and we process millions of data. So that is what makes us different. But that is not the case. The case is selling it is what is becoming harder and harder because there's so much competition that if you don't stand out
Yep.
tomorrow,
And
you're dead.
that's
So
and
we are
that's
constantly evolving and trying to think with AI and without AI both. How can we be on the edge, right? And I think that is what tools became a commodity because everybody can build one. And if you have a tool that somebody can replicate in 5 days with cloud code, you have a lot of risk involved, right?
exactly. And that's one of the major things we train at Powerhouse Affiliate is build a brand, right? Like instead of having 30 different campaigns, sure, you could test 30 different campaigns, but maybe do it all under the same brand. Eventually, you build moat and data and you start building your own empire of, even if you don't own the customer, you can still own the data, right? And so that's where you start building the sales funnel that you're eventually going to be selling all your products through. And that's why I do YouTube videos. It's the brand itself, right? While it might not be massive traffic, it's probably the most high converting type of traffic out there. It's people that trust your brand. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
why.
yeah, yeah. And it also becomes this multi-touch point, right? Where, sometimes we performance marketeers, we are used to running a campaign on Meta and then converting how many clicks we got. What's the conversion, right? But how many conversions are coming from people who are not clicking on that ad that they see, but they go into
Mm.
YouTube, then go into cloud, then seeing an ad on Google search or in your brand keywords, and eventually turning into a user. And the original impression was that video on Meta, right? And that's something that we see a lot as well, where we have people coming and telling us, yeah, I saw your videos on YouTube, or I searched for you on cloud or on ChatGPT, right? And it's that is fascinating. And if you're only running as an affiliate, you're actually boosting the conversions of somebody else on a different channel, right? So that is what it's interesting that you mentioned, that build your own brands, and then every impression you get is a little bit of equity, right? It's not wasted spend. Interesting.
And then eventually, if you build in a network, or if you build into a niche, like, for example, chart equity, we'll say as an example, if you build into a niche where you can build a tool later or a product that you own, that's even better. So you could start with straight up affiliate and just be like, I want to be an affiliate. I get a lot of people on my coaching calls coming in thinking that affiliate is like this easy model, like where you get to not do anything and you just buy traffic and arbitrage clicks. Sure, that was the way it was 10 years ago, but that model is slowly getting like that narrow margin. The margins are narrowing, we'll say. So you need to build bigger.
And when do you think that model changed? Is something changing? You mentioned that it's slowly changing. I guess it's already been quite some time since, let's say, meta traffic cost has been over the roof. Was something that I hear from many affiliates is that the payouts did not increase, while the CPM and the traffic cost has maybe go up 3, 4, 5 times. When do you think it was that divergence between the old model and the new model that you're actually coaching your people to go through, create your own brand?
I feel like it's been more aggressive in the last 3 years than I've seen over the last, like I have campaigns that have ran for 10 years, like in the same niche, just maybe switch the offer out and stuff. So every year you expect maybe a 1 to 3% like loss on your, inflation and all that kind of stuff. But lately it seems like the big brands like Meta and Google, will say, are more pressured to meet their. This is my theory. I'm not saying this based on a lot of data. I'll tell you some data in my campaigns, which is actually more proof. But I feel like these corporations are trying to get their stock price to hit that 10% growth margin every year at least, or 20, 30%. And the only way to do that is to increase their costs, or to increase their revenue by their pricing power. And their pricing power is in their base cost per click, or the CPM on Facebook. So it's obvious that this base, like for example, I'm running a campaign where there's 0 competitors, okay? And I'm still paying like $5 to $10 a click. Like, it doesn't make sense, right? It's a local campaign. I'm doing it for a local company, but it still doesn't make sense where there's 0 competitors. So that's the cost base that Google is setting now. So that's been, for me, I feel like it's been going up more in the last 3-5 years than anything. Now, when I look at my campaign, I did a video on YouTube the other day where I did two keywords that made me whatever, $50,000 or $48,000. And in that video, I showed the data. And basically, over the course of the years of that campaign, the conversion rate kept going up. Like it started at, let's say, 2% conversion rate and went up as high as 6% by the end. Right? So the conversion rate, that's because that's what we do as affiliates. We optimize, we change landing pages, we change ads, and we constantly tweak to a point where we get that conversion rate nice. But the ROI on that campaign actually was going in the opposite direction, even though the conversion rate's going up. So the divergence, do you know what I mean? It's because the payout stayed the same and the costs just kept getting higher because of the cost per click, even though it's optimized to perfection, right? And that's the divergence that I'm seeing happening. And I think a lot of people are seeing it. I see it in discussions where, man, I can't even make it profitable anymore. So you gotta add in some new stuff. You gotta build your data. And even having a Google account that spent millions is moat in itself, because it has the data that somebody else, they come in and they try and spy. They try and rip a campaign and go and run it, and they make nothing. And they're like, what the heck? Like, this ad's been running for decades. But no, it's the data in the account.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned this one. And one of the things that we do on our end is to try to provide our users signals to understand what's working or what isn't. And basically the all-time signal is like, oh, if something is running for 1,000 days, must be printing. And I always said, yeah, but not for you. is printing for the one who is running it for 1,000 days, because
Yeah.
that's it. They have so much data in those 1,000 days that you can't buy. You cannot buy. You need 1,000 days to buy that data. So if you go and try to replicate that one, likely you're not going to make it work, right? So we are always trying to come up with smarter signals. And one of the ones that we are coming up now is the what we call creative velocity, right? And in Meta, for example, it's how many new ads or how many active ads a creative is getting. And duplicating we know that people are scaling on a high space. What they're doing is they're basically launching the same creative across different accounts, different fan pages, and we are tagging that. So that is what we think is a lot smarter in a way, like not the longevity of the 1,000 days, but is this creative being launched now heavily or not? And when the answer is yes, that is when we suggest our users use that signal, test that signal first, and more than the longevity, more than the overall quantity, because something that launched, 50,000 ads using a creative 6 months ago, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone, right? But that is something that it's nice that you point that one out as well. And another question, which is, you mentioned Google, you mentioned Meta as well. And we all that these tools are getting smarter and smarter. They're basically taking over what the media buyer used to do on testing things and doing this, because they're becoming super smart. What is left for a media buyer? I mean, you mentioned that you were doing media buying for forever, basically for over 20 years.
Yeah.
What is left in the platforms? Because one of the things that I keep hearing is that it's all about creative, but historically media buyers were not when you talk about the media buyer, you're not talking about the creative director, right? You're talking about somebody who knows how to use those platforms. Is that something that became one now for you? What do you see?
Yeah. So I guess for AI itself, it's easy to say, give me 50 ad headlines about this, right? But where the skill still needs to be is in our ability to be able to say, which of those 50 am I going to actually make money with? Or you could say, give me 50 different angles for my next. And that's another even better skill. Being able to say, okay, everyone's pitching the offer this way, and it's probably working, but is there another way that we can pitch this offer that completely changes the audience and their mind frame and what level they are in the sales cycle and stuff like that? So that stuff AI is not good at yet. It might get good at it someday, but it's still not good at. So you need to be able to do that. And you need to be able, so that's on the AI side. But when we're looking at the platform specifically, like say Facebook or Google, now I'll be honest, I've spent more money on Google ads than Facebook ads over the years, but I still spend on both platforms today. But in terms of what we can do there, it's funny because let's just pick one for example, but they're both doing the same thing. They're both trying to make everything automated, so that we can focus more on the creative, we'll say. That's what their sales pitch is, but I think their automations are built also to maximize the revenue from every spender, and they're trying to make their moat the fact that if we can keep everybody spending by giving them a couple of pieces of, a couple of bones every now and then everybody's going to be here, and then we have less top-heavy advertisers we have to rely on. Everybody's going to make money. Right? So we need to trick that algorithm still, but it's getting harder to trick because it's getting smarter too. So yeah, I think the real skill is going to come still in being able to do good sales copy that AI just can't do, and good ads that are different angles, and knowing what angles to test. Because if you wanted to test 50 ad angles right now, you're going to go broke if you just keep trying. You have to be able to tell which one is going to work and put your focus on those. I think that's what I'm trying to constantly battle with.
What you say, when you're paying $5 to $10 a click, if you need to test many angles, you cannot rely on 1 or 2 clicks, right? You need to spend heavily until you said, okay, this is working. So those tests become more. I guess that's the nature on Google, because are we talking about Google search or Google display, YouTube in general?
The example I gave you where I was paying $5 a click was actually search on a phrase match. So, and we'll just say it's electricians. So, for example, you could say install lights. Like there's so many different angles you could do. Like what is the main thing that people need an electrician for? So you're going along that line. But there was no electrician in the locality that I was running this campaign, that I am running it. There's no other electricians running paid search, which means that the Google has said, well, it doesn't matter if there's competition, you're paying this for that click,
Yeah.
right? And that's just the way that we're going.
All right. And is Google search? You recently published a case study about, I think it was investing around 2 million in Google. The majority of those 2 million was in Google search? Is a mix between display, YouTube, and so on? Or is
For me, I've actually spent over 7 million on Google search alone. So
okay?
yeah, that's over the course of, say, now it's since 2014, we'll say, so 12 years. So, a half a mil a year, we'll say. So 50,000 a month on average on Google search. And that's where I spend most of my time optimizing. And I just have a lot of experience in how the algorithm has always worked. You have many different factors. You have broad match, phrase match, exact match. Then you've got the AI max coming in as a new way to automate. And so that's always been one of my things is like, especially for new people coming in, is like pick one traffic source and become a master at it. And Facebook and Google seem to be my favorite too. Like they're so scalable.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense. And how do you see, because something that we hear as well across, not necessarily our users, but across the industry, is that with the rise of AI search, ChatGPT, Cloud, Perplexity, even Gemini itself, the decrease on people searching on Google itself. Have you seen any impact in your campaigns, in your operations, or is unrelated?
So as I mentioned before, I've only started moving into search engine optimization and AEO and stuff like that because of the fact it's so easy. But there's a lot to it, of course. You can't just go spam 1,000 pages and think that you're going to get a bunch of traffic. But if you have data yourself, like even you guys who have data, and you start posting case studies and stuff that you need AI, like everybody's searching on AI now, but I catch myself all the time going to websites after searching AI or talking to Gemini or whoever, right? I'm going to go and check the source. So that's how content is now being built, and there's courses everywhere, there's YouTube videos everywhere about how to do this. So that's one model. So I haven't seen any effect because I haven't ever focused mainly on SEO. Like I said, I do mainly paid traffic. But what I can say on the paid side is there's some campaigns, like for example, the electrician one, I shut AI Max off. Like it's just not working. Like it's spending money and it's bleeding. But then I have another campaign running in, say, personal data that people are like, did I get exposed online? What's the dark web? Could I get scammed in my crypto accounts? Those are all questions you talk to AI about, but you still want a source. And I'm seeing conversions happening from the Google ads that are posted in the AI Max. So you really have to determine, is your niche one of those ones that you're going to use AI to answer the question and still want to click on an ad or not? And that's where I'm seeing the impact. And so I'm not saying turn on or off AI Max. It's test it and see if it's actually going to work.
Cool. Yeah, interesting. All right, let's move forward. I have tons of questions. I don't know if you're going to reach all of them, but let's try to see how far we get. So you mentioned that right now you're focusing on finance. You mentioned electricity. One of the things that I'm curious is, what have you stopped doing in the last 12 months? What industry have you seen in a sharp decline in the last year?
Yeah. So for me, like I stopped doing health and wellness. I was doing it for a while. I was doing brand bidding on Google, especially for some like not through ClickBank, but as an example, we'll say a ClickBank offer where it's a video sales letter. It was really easy to do click arbitrage, or we'll say affiliate arbitrage, just brand bidding. And I've found that it still works, and you still see it. If you go search any top ClickBank product right now, you're going to see affiliates doing that. But you're also going to see that most of them are doing it non-compliantly, so they're probably burning accounts now. And so like that's not my game. I mentioned before, I'm doing white hat. I'm trying to sustain that one ad account that I have. Well, I have a like multiple like sub accounts, but let's say Google, it would be devastating for me to lose my Google Ads account over something so stupid, right? So that's where I just moved into more compliant stuff. So diet, in terms of video sales letters, the one click this image and go watch the video and spend an hour watching a video and hopefully buy something. That to me is slowly bleeding. or quickly bleeding. I already told you I left the other niches. Now, in terms of what I'm focused on now, it's more like direct buyers. The old affiliate model where you're running offers through multiple different chains of networks, it doesn't work anymore. So it has to be direct, and that's why it's more important than ever to go to these events and meet people, because that's where you're going to find the opportunities.
Nice. Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't really stopped anything because I stopped a while ago doing multiple different like offers, like where you get like, oh, that looks like a great offer. Then you go test it and then you bleed $1,000 and then you go try another one and bleed a couple thousand there. I stopped doing that completely a few years ago. So I'm focused mainly on what I'm doing for the last 3 years. So
Nice. Right, makes
yeah,
sense. Makes sense. Thanks for sharing. And now I want to move to a Powerhouse affiliate, which is your
sure.
education platform. You get subscribers probably coming from every single corner. Do you see a pattern? Is it still people early on their careers who want to turn into affiliate marketing? You see people that are a little bit older. You see any demographic, any country where you can say that this is the pattern that I'm seeing?
Yeah. So the main audience is US, and then we have English speaking tier one, Canada, UK, and those would be, I say, our biggest ones. But then we have a lot from Israel and other countries around the world that are big on affiliate. We have Thailand. But the, I guess, yeah, the main thing is that we've always targeted the newest affiliate marketer because that's the biggest audience. The skilled affiliates, the people that are high end major media buyers, are not joining communities. They're, you know what I mean? So that's why we've always focused our content around helping the new guy figure it out. And it's always been truth over fancy Lambo kind of pushing affiliate marketing like it's this grand scheme, like awesome thing.
Makes
So,
sense. Yeah.
yeah.
Makes complete sense. So it's the new is coming, and of course, from all this bunch of new is coming, is a pyramid, right? Many of them stop because they cannot simply put the grind or make it work, and then of course there's a few that go up and become probably very successful, right? And across all these years you're running, you must have cases where some of your students or subscribers became very successful, correct?
Yeah, so part of Vault Media is that we do have a network. It's been around for probably over, I think we started in 2011. So 14 years we've had a private CPA network. So you can basically see all the offers that I run basically by being in that network because I only put offers that I've ran traffic to and make money from. But to be in that network, you have to work basically and prove that you are actually running traffic before you even get accepted. I'm not trying to pitch that network by any stretch. What I'm saying is I've seen the data, and the people that make the money usually become close ties with me, friends, or we'll say, so it's not like 50 to 100,000 affiliates running offers, and we don't have thousands of offers. We have like maybe 50 offers, and we're working as a team of media buyers, like talking every day. So what I do see is, so you might be saying like, why are you running Powerhouse Affiliate if you're making so much money? And people ask me that all the time. Why do you teach training and why do you do that? It's more, there's bigger picture to this whole thing. It's about networking. It's about building a community of people and finding people because I actually saw somebody post on Facebook today that one sentence, and you might have heard of Attila Odry. I see him on Facebook all the time. But anyway, he said something like one sentence at a conference and it can change the path. And it's true because one thing that somebody says, if you can think outside of the box and think, oh, you know what, that's a great idea. That's why I built Powerhouse Affiliate in the first place. So when people come there, they're not necessarily just getting training. They're getting answers from people that have been doing this for years. And I still learn from people in my coaching calls. Like when I have a coaching call with somebody, I actually learn from them too. Like, because they're like, I'm doing this, this, and this. I'm like, oh, that's awesome, man. Like, that's pretty cool, man. That's a good way to look at it. Like, for example, somebody was doing video ads, making sure that the person watched so many minutes of the video and then retarget. And so it's like the little tricks like that you just like, so that's why it exists, and that's I don't know.
It keeps you on the ground, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
get many of them, of course, they not manage to succeed, but there's going to be, of course, a percentage that are going to become very successful and can actually feed you and your knowledge as well. So it's very smart. I mean, that is a very good way to see it as well. And one of the things that I also wanted to ask is, you still do your coaching calls yourself, right? You don't outsource these coaching calls to anybody. And I understand from what you just explained that it's because you actually get knowledge back to you. Is that correct? Is that why you keep doing those coaching calls yourself?
Yeah. So I think the whole sale of the coaching call is being able to talk to somebody who's actually been doing this for a long time and pretty much seen everything that I think I've seen. And I'm pretty honest on the calls. So I could outsource it, but it's really easy for me to just block pieces of my calendar that are available. And if people want to take that 30 minutes to an hour to talk to me about a campaign, I use it not only as, a great way to meet people, but at the same time, learn something and give people I guess, the experience that they want to actually hear.
Got it. Yeah.
So,
Nice.
yeah, I've had probably, we'll say, on average, I only do maybe 5 coaching calls a month.
Okay.
So it's not like it's big money maker. It's more just like, okay, let's have a chat. And out of those, let's say in the last year, probably 3 people have actually gone on to start running offers either through me or through other networks and making money. So it's definitely worth the time. And then, yeah, often results in a relationship.
Nice. Interesting. All right. Now I want to move and I want to ask you some questions about what would make a spy tool worth opening it every day. We're in the spy tool business. So I'm
Yeah.
curious to hear from somebody like you, what makes a spy tool, ours or another one, worth going in every day?
Yeah. So, for example, I have been using AdPlexity for probably 10 years. You can see on my YouTube channel that I probably have videos from 10 years ago still using AdPlexity in the native space and then going on to the other areas. I never got into the adult realm, and lately I've been using this social media tool. And the reason is because, yeah, we all know that there's Facebook ads library. Great, cool. You can search in there, but you can't get the real stuff that, especially for people like me who want to find affiliate networks. I want to find access to affiliate offers. I want to find their landing pages, how long these ads have been running, and if there's other related advertisers connected. Like all of this can slowly, you can try and figure it out using the ads library, but you guys have the data that has been accumulating over the years and the search engine tool in there that allows me to do that. And that's why I use it pretty much every time I'm trying to come up with new ad angles or anything like that. And the fact that you guys built in the ability to connect now to AI, I saw that. That was pretty cool. While I haven't done it yet, I think that's the right direction because soon we'll just be able to say to Claude probably like, hey, give me 25 different angles, but I want you to show me ads that have been running for the last 5 years or whatever, 5 months. And the velocity thing is pretty interesting as well because we all know that when a new offer comes out or a new type of offer that everybody's talking about happens all the time, especially if you go to events, everybody's talking about the new thing, right? Usually it's best to get on that in the early days, be a first mover kind of deal. And the velocity thing makes complete sense because that's usually when you start to see a push of a whole bunch of ads at the same time, all related. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
While I haven't tried it yet, I'm going to probably do that right after we get off this call.
Yeah,
I guess.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We also have the percentage comparing to the previous period of 7 days or 30 days. So you can
Yeah.
see early on when there's a spike, right? And when there's a spike, it means that it could be successful or it means it could be a flop, but it still is a very strong signal. And then something that I'm curious to hear from you is, everybody has access to, as you said, ads library, a lot of different spy tools, including ours. And spotting winning creative is what we are trying to offer our users. But even if we have them there, what sets apart the operator that is going to get the winning creative and is going to turn it into profits? Because as you said before, you can copy it, but it might not work for you, right? So what makes it, what do you say that if you would teach in your community or even for anybody, find a winning creative, but do
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely, that's a good question because finding the ad is one thing, of course, but I think what separates the winners from the losers is again doing all of the research that you need to do beforehand, like what angles might be different, what angles could I try differently? I guess I just said the same thing. But also at the same time, the targeting is something that you need to know. You need to know also how to launch campaigns properly. So you're not just going to, you have to, I guess you have to have the understanding that the reason why that guy has been running it for 3 months or 5 months or 5 years is because he has data. And if you don't understand the value of data and conversion tracking and all the technical things involved in that, building audiences, setting your campaign budget the right way, these are all things that you have to think about, even outside of the creative itself. So a lot of people, especially, even intermediate people who are lazy, they think they can just grab the ad, go run the ad, set the ad budget to whatever and fire away. But that's just one tiny little piece. Even though we said creative is one of the most important things, there's still so much more behind the scenes, like the angle and the sales copy and being different because Facebook now is able to detect duplication much better, and it's not going to just start rewarding everybody doing the same thing. Their whole idea is to make sure that their moat is strong, and by just having a bunch of advertisers running the same thing, it's not good for them.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes complete sense. All right, Joey, this was all my questions. We answered a lot of them. So now, last but not least, is where can people find you?
Yeah, so I basically am on YouTube. I have the Powerhouse affiliate channel. I also am often at the world conferences. If I'm there, I would love to meet people. I'm always there, but also powerhouseaffiliate.com is a good community for people who are more probably either new or intermediate, we'll say. It's probably not something where the top elite media buyers need to be. They need to be focused on their media campaigns more than anything. But we do have some elite guys because they're my friends, and we sit there and we talk, and I have a close circle that is in there, and we often answer people's questions. So that's
Excellent.
my honest take on Powerhouse Affiliate.
Excellent. Okay, it was a great pleasure having this conversation with you. Thank
Yeah,
you very much.
great. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Have a good day. Bye bye.
Okay. See you later.